officially DPAC to our team of developers. Roop showed us the design for how an institution user can report a change on behalf of a student's scholastic standing. Lynn showed us some program updates, and we will continually enhance that, I'm sure. The devs showed us that students can now view their application summary, save a draft application, and confirm their assessment. Hot topic. Institution users can now add intensity to their program offerings, view their confirmation of enrollment summary page, and review a program information request. So that was from last sprint. This sprint, we have quite a lot to show you, so hopefully it's not too overwhelming. But we have a couple announcements before we go into that. Is that we're going to be moving to a 3-week sprint as a project team, and there are quite a few reasons for that. Number one, it has been almost a year that we've been working at a 2-week sprint pace, and some of our team members are getting a little bit burnt out, number one. Number two, we can decrease our Scrum ceremonies. So instead of having a product planning session and a retrospective every 2 weeks, it'll only be every 3. However, it does create more pressure for those meetings to plan for 3 weeks. And we're just going to try it. We're just going to see how it goes, probably until about the end of December to see how we feel, and we might pick it up. Finally, one of the other reasons is that because we're getting into that end-to-end scenario analysis, we wanted a bit more capacity to chew on those problems, end-to-end upstream, downstream impacts. In addition to that, we had a really good session in our off-product review sprint with the business and some other key stakeholders around our feedback cycle and how we can best ensure that we're hearing what you're saying and that that feedback comes back to you on how the product team has solved for that problem, or in another way, or perhaps we missed something and we've added to the backlog. So we've committed as a product team to bring that back to you in those business meetings on the off sprint to ensure that you're fully aware from a change management perspective. Elise, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I would just add that you can then expect a few different meeting invites to pop up in your inbox as we make some adjustments. So there will be on the weeks we're not demoing, we'll still have our Wednesday morning business sessions. So just keep an eye on that and don't just press delete or decline, I think is the right word, because you might want to have it in your schedule.
Yes, good point. Yes, we'll be sending out updates for that after this call. Yeah. Okay, Elise, take it away.
Thank you. So this is Sprint 16 that we're demoing to you today. And so the focus of Sprint 16 was we have some updates to show you for the full-time, part-time application. This is just a good reminder that we're not going to be done the application, but we'll show you some of the updates. Probably will be more in the future. We've started to do some research and get ready for managing restrictions, and also some more research, which we're going to show you suggested workflow for parent and spouse information requests. The dev team is actually, so that's what we're working on kind of in preparation. The dev team has built the ability to deny program information, which we'll show you today. We've also got a lot of our confirmation of enrollment complete now, and institution type. So we'll show you some of that as well. So there's a little bit of business context I just want to remind you about before we get into it. So we just had a branch meeting this morning, and so I've said this is that we're going to show you this, and we're going to show you this, and we're going to show you this, and it's kind of all over the place, and I'm sure sometimes it might feel a little bit hard to keep track of all of that. So one of the things that we're going to start working on now are some end-to-end scenarios, little chunks, so that we can show you it from beginning to end. You should have seen most of it already, but it's nice to see it actually in order and those kinds of things. So starting next sprint, we'll start working on planning that out to show you more of that in the coming demos. The other thing that I think you're starting to hopefully get a feel for is that we're getting closer to building that foundation as it relates to institution users and students, and starting to build more as it relates for staff. But now we're going to start with some more layers. So for example, now we have an application, we can add some of the business rules in. And then we can also ask some of our users to come in, try out a few things, and have them identify some improvements that we're going to need to make. So you're going to start to see over the fall and over the next few months more institution users, more opportunities where we're asking for feedback, because we've got enough now built to ask for feedback. It's hard to ask for something when we're asking them to give us their feedback on something that doesn't even exist. So we'll be starting to work on that. So I do want to give you an update. We're going to show you the parent and spouse, but I want to flag for you that we are making some adjustments in how we manage parent and spouse information. So I'm going to flag this for you, and then you're going to see some of it, and then probably have some more questions. So as you know, students are signing in using the BC Services card, and that is the best approach for us to make sure that we know people are who they say they are, and that they are authenticated. And so in the new system, as much as possible, we're going to ask parents and spouses to also sign in using a BC Services card. And BC Services card is working, we're going to be hearing more later on this month, but is working with other jurisdictions across Canada, so that all people across Canada could actually get a BC Services card. And then if parents and or spouses cannot get a BC Services card, then we're not going to ask them to sign in, because we don't actually know they are who they say they are. We're going to ask the students to provide the information on behalf of those individuals. So that is a different approach, and that is more in line with privacy compliance, and it also allows us to simplify the process. So we'll have to think about that for what that means from a verification perspective, but that is the new approach that we're going to use, so we can talk more about it. We're also, as I mentioned, starting to look at restrictions. Restrictions are a critical part of information that's shared back and forth, particularly with the feds. And for those of you that haven't seen it, there's an amazing spreadsheet that tells you all of the different restriction types, hundreds and hundreds of different restriction types. And so we're trying to get a handle on what are we restricting? Are we restricting the student? Are we restricting the application? Is it really a restriction? Does it mean they can't do something, or is it just, hey, heads up, there's a problem? So we're doing some work on that, and we'll be able to show you some more thinking about that, some initial thinking this morning, but just wanted to flag for you. And as much as we can, we're using the work that both Kate and Neve did for us before we lost them. So we've got a lot of feedback and information there to support us. So my standard reminder, yes, there are spelling mistakes. Yes, there are some language things that are still not fixed, and please point it out so that we can fix it, but we're not focusing on that right now. We're trying to just get the basic foundation pieces. And again, as much as possible, we're trying to build pathways that we can reuse, so that sometimes we're making decisions to do it this way because we can simply reuse the pathway. So, and that'll allow us to manage our time, but it also simplifies the process, which is a key part of our vision. So with that, I'm going to pass it back, and I look forward for you guys to see what they've done. It's great work.
Yeah, so this past sprint, Lynn took away some feedback on our application and some updates and enhancements that we identified. And that work is still ongoing, and it likely will be for a while. But one of the things that she wanted to show in particular was our file uploader. So Lynn, if you wouldn't mind taking it over if you're here.
Yes, I'm
here. Here you are.
Hi, everyone. So again, for this sprint, we made updates to the student application, primarily the file uploader. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like as well. So here we're seeing the student application. You're on the form right now. And then there are certain cases where when you select, depending on what you answer, for example, in this example, permanent resident, you will see an uploader that looks like this. Based on the work we've done, so what we did was gather the technical requirements, what are the file formats that we can accept, like JPEG, PNG, etc. And also we took this chance to also take a look at the business requirements for the uploader as well. So based on the technical requirements and the business requirements, we packaged it all up nicely in a user-friendly way so that this becomes a reusable UI component that should work for every scenario. We're still firming up the documents in this area for the rest of the uploaders, but this is kind of our reusable component for moving forward here. So as you can see, we have a bit of some text up here, the documents accepted, some instructions of what you can do in the file formats, and also the size of the file that we can accept. So we're still making enhancements to the application as previously mentioned. There will be more to come, but just to show you what we've done on the application is just provide some uploaders. There's about, I think, 6 or 7 of them, kind of laid it out like this, where we have the citizenship uploader, we have the BC residency uploader here. I'll kind of zoom in for you guys. But again, we're still working on some of the documents accepted here that we can accept. So that's still to come. But as you can see, we're looking at all the different scenarios and how we can reuse some UI components. And UI just means user interface design. So that's it. So more to come in the future, as Elise mentioned on the student application. We certainly have some questions that we need to update as per spouse and parent workflows. But yeah, that is kind of it for the application file uploader. To you, Michelle.
So I was just going to say, here's just a really good example. I'm not sure if folks recall that the first time we showed this to you, there was the pretty box with the little cloud. But as you can see, we're starting to get more language here so that the student can self-serve, right? They don't need to go somewhere else. They know what it is we're looking for. So you're starting to see some of that. And of course, that comes from maybe an appeal form or other kind of places. So we're looking forward to sharing this with you, as well as doing some user testing to say, does this work? Does this make sense to you? Do you understand what's needed? So it's exciting to see it evolve.
Yes. Now we're pivoting over to, Roop's going to show us some application details states.
Yes, indeed. Good morning, everyone. So what is the application details state? So in a nutshell, we want to make it clear to the student what stage their application is at as they're sitting at home waiting for that final, your application is complete. So in between that submitting of application, maybe you're still in progress in your application, just want to make sure that it's clear to the student what's coming up. So this is kind of the applications page. It's still being worked on, but basically this would be the view of all of your applications. Clicking through when you're looking at your actual application, just a few little kind of captions here to let you know what each of these things mean. And if you're clicking through that link that's on the board, you can click on just anywhere and it'll take you to the next screen. So when you're working on it, you haven't really submitted or anything yet. So this kind of box is here to show you that this is kind of your tracker of your application, but it lets you know that nothing's been submitted. You're still working on your application, and then you can click through to continue at each step. finally, when you have submitted, you'll see this screen. It's either going to say, congratulations, your application has been sent, and you're just waiting for us to let you know when there's updates to your application. Or if they're waiting for additional information, such as parent information or partner information, or even program information requests from your institution, it would kind of be in this waiting state for them. And just to show kind of what happens as a error state as this happens, from time to time, and obviously there's it'll happen. So if there is an error state at any one of these steps, we'll kind of pop open this kind of alert banner beside, and we'll let them know that something has happened to your application. And this kind of design pattern exists throughout. So if there's an issue at assessment stage, it'll let you know kind of in a similar fashion. Let's go back to the happy path. Okay, so now let's say that our assessment is ready to go. Most likely you're going to be getting a email notification saying, hey, something's changed in your application. Go into StudentAid BC and check it out. And here we're ready for them to confirm their assessment. At this stage, we did a kind of a deep dive into the front page of what would happen if the story got out that we automatically approve everyone's application and assessment and all of that stuff. We want to confirm that they know what they're receiving, if they're receiving a loan and a grant, that kind of information. So just making sure that they have the ability to confirm exactly what they would like to have come through to them. Moving along, enrollment. When you're sitting at this enrollment stage, just waiting for your institution to confirm your enrollment, this is what it would look like. Giving them a little bit of information, a friendly name of who your institution is, and letting them know that the confirmation of your enrollment happens closer to your study start date, so don't feel bad about it. And then your assessment, you can always go back to view your assessment right down here. And that's that detailed breakdown.
There is some background noise that is coming through. I've racking my brains. I've gone through everybody. It looks like everyone's muted, but if you're not.
There is construction outside happening, if that's me.
It might be me. You're the only one else that's not muted.
It's a saw outside, so my apologies, everyone.
That's fine.
They tended to do this as soon as I hit my unmute button, so my
right.
Okay, so yeah, this is the complete screen. This is the happiest of happy paths. Everything is ready to go. You get a little message that says your application is complete. And again, you can always view your assessment from here. Now let's pretend that something happened. Uh-oh, a Scholastic standing change has come through. Your funding was completed, but something happened. So this is just kind of showing you a few of those states of, again, that error state. Something has happened. What's next? Making sure that they have that clear understanding. If there's a file upload, it would happen there. And then down here, some future states that we don't have to worry about. But in the future, we may show more of a breakdown of your assessment, or we may have different types of alerts that need to stack. And so they're that's why they're blurred out. It's not your eyes. And yeah, that is the states of your application.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Roop. So we're looking forward to building that in the coming sprints. Not next sprint, the following sprint is when it's kind of scheduled to be worked through. Now I'm going to pass the mic over to Andrew Schwenker, who is going to be talking to us about some program year stuff and some parent-spouse workflow.
Sure. Do you want me to share? I can share. Sure. Let's do that. Too many screens. 1 second. Cool. So one of the things that we did here, everyone can see, is validating form off program year. Basically, that's a purely back-end thing that what we've done is we're now using the program year based off of the application and the student year that they're actually applying to, and using that in the assessment workflow to essentially use to determine which assessment year we're going to run. Because as we know, every year we have a lot of changes, a lot of numbers change. So effectively being able to use the correct year in that assessment to make sure we're using basically we removed a hard-coded number, long story short. But into the juicy part, parent and spouse workflow. So Elise basically captured everything about it, but this is picture form of it. So as mentioned, we are waiting for a couple final updates from the BC Services Card folks. So for parents and partners and spouses, sorry, in the student application, when the student selects married or common law, you need to collect spouse information. This is where we're going to have a knockout question right here about if you can get a BC Services Card or not, wording to be determined. If you're not eligible for a BC Services Card, we can't authenticate you, and that generally means you won't have like a tax thing with CRA. So at that point, the partner and spouse information is going to be inputted into the student application. More details to come on that once the developments really hit the road. If the student has selected yes, their partner can use a BC Services Card, then we're going to have a way for the parents, partners, and spouses, to authenticate with their BC Services Card, input their own information, an authenticated way, and complete it. Pretty much the exact same thing for parents, although there's a couple more lead-up questions, of course, to determine whether or not you are a dependent, because that's the reason why we collect parent information. Same knockout question: if your parent, partner and parent, very close. If your parent can use a BC Services Card, then they will have an authenticated way to log in and input their own data. If they can't use a BC Services Card, the parent information will be inputted into the student application. So effectively, these are basically the exact same for partner and spouses. Ask if they can use a BC Services Card. We're going to be figured out, input it into the student application or not, based off that question. And that's the gist.
Yeah, so ultimately, we want authenticated people to come in and provide their information, and we will encourage that. And if they're not, we need to, if they're being inputted, we need to decide how much level of rigor we want to do on the back end manually or whatever to those inputted information in the future. But for now, we want to encourage all people using our system to be authenticated. I hope that makes sense. Okay, now we're moving over to the product review of what actually has been built. And we're going to be flipping back and forth between worlds. So for instance, Guru is going to be showing us what it looks like for an institution user to deny a program information request. And then he's going to become a student and view application from a read-only perspective. So thanks for bearing with us as we flip back and forth, but I hope that it will become clearer and clearer as we move to those end-to-end scenarios. Take it away, Guru.
Yes. Good morning, team. Yeah, let me just share my screen. Okay. As Mitchell said, like I'll be taking care of two stories today. Like one is for the institution user, a user who logs in as an institution. So, I mean, as soon as the institution user logs in, he'll be able to see this dashboard screen. So I have pre-populated and I have logged in as an institution user for the demo purposes. So he'll be able to see a set of locations here. So as a part of the story, I mean, we do not have a deny program info request pre-built before. So now we have done it. So you can see this application number, right? Like 79 application number where program information request status is required. So we'll just go into it. And the institution user can see everything. And now he has an ability to deny the program info request. So as soon as he clicks on this, he'll be able to see a set of deny reasons. I would say like, I mean, there are predefined in a table, so it can be activated or deactivated from the backend itself. So it will be, and also like if you want, we can add more deny reasons also. This is like flexible. So he can select either one of this, or he can select other, where he or she has to specify the reason for the denial here. So for example, we can just say like reason for denial. Okay, something like that. And we can just, so you can see like this is a 79 request. Okay, go and you can complete the denial. So you can see like the 79 has been denied here, declined. So this is actually the PIR request, denial of the PIR request, like the program information request as an institution user. So this screen is for the institution user. So this is the first story. And the second story which I was working on is for the student. So again, coming back as a student, this is this URL or this page has been logged in as a student user. So as soon as the student logs in, he or she will be able to see this as the first screen. And they can click on the applications page. Okay, of course, they're not going to see these many applications, but as this is a dev environment, we are seeing a lot of applications. So previously, we are able to view the application details page. So this page is yet to be developed, and like Roop has already showed you like what all things it's going to come over here, I guess. And as soon as they click on this applications options, we have an ability to view the submitted application of the student in a read-only mode. Like they can't able to edit it or they can't submit it again. All this submission of this buttons and stuff like that has been removed, and they can just view what they have done. Like they can just check whether their application has been whether they have these concerns disclosed, or what is the type of data they have given it to the uh, like uh, for the institution. They can just actually see it, and yeah, this is the view only mode of the any applications they have done. So they can view any applications what they have done. So that's the part of it. So this is like viewing the application as a student. Yeah.
Perfect.
Back to
Thank
you, Michelle.
you. Thank you, Guru. Now we're going to pass it over to Anne, who is going to be an institution user confirming enrollment.
Yeah, I'll be sharing my screen. You all can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so here like I have logged as a student, and the student has these many applications. So here for this student, I have created like 2 applications, application number 119 and 118. So 119 is this application. For this application, the offering started date is December 23, and 119 and 120, and for 120 it's like September 3. So now I'm going back to the institution user. So in this browser, I have logged in as an institution user, and those 2 applications, it was for location for Golden. And when the institution user click this confirmation of enrollment, they can see like 1119 and 120 here. Yeah, so first I'm going to 119. So here the offering start date is 23. So when the user click this view, he can see the details of the application and everything, and here he'll be having this message. So when the user when this application is only within this 21 days of study period, then only the institution user will be able to confirm this enrollment. I'm going back to the other application, which is on September 3rd. So here also the institution user can do the details, and here since this application is within the 21 period, they will be getting this dialog, and here in the application action, they will be having this option to confirm enrollment. In the other case, this option will be disabled. If they click also, nothing won't be happening. So in this application, when they click confirm enrollment, they will be having this pop-up. They can cancel the this model, or they can confirm the confirmation. So before that, I'm going to show the workflow of the application. So this is our workflow, and here you can see. Let's refresh this. So this is a workflow. And we have introduced this part as a part of this confirmation of enrollment. So here we can see there are 9 applications waiting for the COE, confirmation of COE. And I'm going back to this application, and the institution user is trying to confirm the application. And now they will be seeing that the application is confirmed and the money will be disbursed 48 hours after the enrollment has been confirmed. Now when you go back to the Camunda page and when you refresh, you can now see the application number is reduced to 8. That means the application which we just confirmed, it has been it has gone to this particular process. So here this process, like, it will get a token, and it will update the COE status as completed, and then it will update the application status as completed. So when the institution user go back and see the summary page, there's a summary page of the institution user. So number is like 120. You can see the status is completed. So this is the COE status. And now when the student, in my other browser, it was a student. So when the student go to the summary page, they can see their application as completed here. So this is about the confirmation of enrollment. Now going to my next story. So I have already created an application in the draft format. I'm now trying to edit the application. So like every fields here are already pre-filled. Going to the confirmation of page. So earlier, like when you submit an application, we will be having a FormIO a success message. So now we have hidden it, and now when we hit submit application, that alert won't be showing, and after the application submit, it will be automatically redirected to the summary page. You can see that the application is saved and it is redirected to this particular page, and this was the application number 121. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's my story, Michelle.
That's great. And thank you so much for carefully showing us what an institution user can see versus what a student can see when we're flipping back and forth and statuses are changing. Once they've confirmed enrollment, what does it look like for the student and vice versa? So thank you very much. We're now going to talk to Andrew Signori, who's going to show us what happens when an institution user needs to edit information at enrollment.
Thank you, Michelle. So, hello everyone. I am in the institution portal. I'm gonna show you the COE edit. So first, let's take a look in one program information that we have here. For the application final 117, it is completed. So the program information request is completed. We are gonna check the confirmation of enrollment. The same application is here as required. So similar to what Anne showed before, we can navigate here. We have the options, and the last one allows us to check there is something wrong, and we need roll back the flow and allow the institution user to edit the program information. So clicking here, we have some disclaimer that's going to tell the institution how that's going to affect the flow. We can cancel or we can go there and edit. When we are editing this, we are going to allow the institution to go back to the PIR and change it. So it's done. It's no longer here. And if you navigate back to the program info request, the application that was before us completed now has the program information request as required. So the institution can go back there and change the data again and do the change as needed, creating an offering, selecting an offering, and we are also rolling back the process. So from the status perspective, we are rolling back to the PIR status, and the process is going to continue as it was before. That's it, Michelle. You're on mute.
If they get all the way to the confirmation of enrollment stage and they still want to make changes to the program, no problem. We will redirect them back to the program information request section of their account, and they can edit the program information there. Thank you for showing us that. And now Deepak is going to show us institution type and where we've put it on their account. You're on mute, Deepak.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to share the screen now. So I'm going to log into as institution user here, and I'm going to log in as one of the institution users to the institution. And this is a pretty small one. So it's just that we have added institution type to the institution. What we have, and this is on both creation and edit of an institution. So what I'm going to show now is on the edit side of the institution. So I'm going to click on manage institution and institution details. So this is my sample institution, and just a moment, let me log off. Log in again. Gonna continue. Manage institution and institution details. Yes. And if you see, there is this new field called institution type being added here, and we have this number of options that we can choose as institution types, and like BC public, private, and until the international medical, and we can choose one among this. Say I'm gonna choose BC public here, and I'm going to save this to the institution. So it will say that institution has been updated successfully. So if I'm gonna go to the manage institution and institution details, so now it's updated to BC public, and if I want to change it, say to something like United States, and then save it again. So it's updated successfully, and click on manage institution, institution details, and you can see that it's updated to United States. And if you try to save your create or update your institution without institution type, it's not gonna let you anymore, because this is a required entity that you need to select. Yeah, and that's everything.
Thank you, Deepak. Okay, perfect. I'll share my screen. Lots of great questions coming in. Before we get to them, we're going to talk about our goals for a 3-week sprint. Now, there's a lot on here, and there's probably too much. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. We have some vacation time coming up for people. We haven't done our official sprint planning yet, but this is just what Elise and Schwenker and Robin and I have thought that we'd like to get to immediately next. So we'll see what comes out of it in sprint planning. But Elise, I'll let you walk through it with everyone.
Sure. And just a reminder that this will be our first 3-week sprint. So we're going to have to try to learn a little bit about what does that mean? Does it mean we can do it 1.5 times what we did before, or less? Or so we'll have to learn a little bit. So from a technical behind the scenes kind of stuff, we'll be working on the grant eligibility business rules. We're working on the MSFAA conversations, so starting to pick that piece up, starting to figure out how might we do that. That's what this stuff is, as well as starting to plan out those end-to-end scenarios. The dev team are going to actually build, or what we're hoping that they'll be building once we confirm our sprint scope, is about what happens when you deny enrollment and institution users, that creating a new program. So just a reminder that we have programs, and then once a program has gone through validations, you can set up what we're calling offerings. Right now, that may change. But offerings. And essentially, if you set up an offering, then a student can select an offering. But maybe you can't set up an offering. Maybe it's what we might call, say, a customized offering. It's for one particular student because they're starting on a unique day, or they have a unique cost, or something like that. So we have to figure out and build, how do we create a new program when program information requests come in, because maybe it hasn't been built, or pardon me, hasn't been set up by the institution. We're going to work on summary pages, and this is around the applications. How do we organize them? And we need to come up with something to then present to our users, our institution users, to say, what about this? So how might we, because for some, you can imagine for some institutions, that could be a really, really, really long list of applications. So how do we organize that? We're going to make some updates to the education program based on feedback that we're getting from the education program project. And we are going to start to dip our toe into the pool of ministry users. We have not built anything to date, but we thought maybe let's build the ability for a ministry user to log in. Just why not? And then, of course, from a UX UI, we've done some research, we've done some thinking. So now we're going to start to try to map out a little bit more of the updates that we need to make to the application, continuing to do some work on restrictions, and also change in circumstance. So how is that reported, and what's the experience from the student side of things we need to think about and try to design there. And then we're going to start to work on some of the other applications. So tuition waiver program being the primary important one, but also loan forgiveness, 2 different types, YEEF. So starting to think about what might those applications look like, how can we try to create a similar look and feel for applications that are quite different right now. And then also starting to think about notifications. So if we tell the student, hey, your notice of assessment is here, how do we send notifications? Where do they go? Where are they in the student account? So we're going to start to do some work on that. We're also going to start looking at scheduling usability testing specifically for institutions. In October, we're trying to give them a break in September. It's a busy time of year, but scheduling the next round of usability testing and user testing there. Obviously, there's a lot for them to look at, and that would include privates as well as our public partners. And then we're also looking forward to doing some analysis. Folks may recall that we are just about ready to close out our survey for students to get some satisfaction results. So we have to do some analysis on that. So the next sprint we'll be able to tell you what students said, especially compared to what they said in March. That'll be really interesting. So that is what we're hopefully going to work on. We'll confirm that, but it's quite a bit, as you can see. So moving on to feedback, there's different questions in the comment area, so let's kind of go through. Some of them have been answered. So there was the question about if we move to 3-week sprints, we're going to just ramp up our velocity, right? We're hoping. We don't exactly know. It's also going to be a bit of a funky sprint because we do have a holiday in there. Plus we have some of our folks that are taking a much deserved break. So we'll see. It's probably going to take us a couple of sprints with 3 weeks to see what the impact is, but that's what we're hoping. We are definitely not doing this to slow down. That's not the goal, but to try to give ourselves a better ability to pace out the work because it's pretty intense and we don't want to crush anybody along the way. So there was a comment about docx being a file type that maybe we don't want to support allowing to be updated. So sounds like difficult to load from a link such as the VDoc screen. So it might be a bit of a loading issue. And I don't know whether that's a loading issue for SFAS or whether or not that issue would continue in the new system. So we'll have to look at that. And absolutely, we get to decide what are the file types that we're allowed to accept. So we need to make those decisions and then let the technical folks know. So if we don't want to allow docx, we don't have to, but we'll just need to make a decision. Will there be a validation that the PR has not expired? This is permanent residency or is not expiring during the study period. So we talked about this idea that document upload, we tell the student what to upload. And of course, by telling them what to upload and them dragging and dropping it in there doesn't necessarily mean that what they upload is either A, adequate for our verification purposes, or B, that maybe their PR document expires next week and they don't start classes till October. So so that's something we're going to have to do some work on. Rebecca, I saw your response, which was absolutely we'll be checking some of those documents. And now the nice thing is we don't have to ask for them. We can, because we're not going to be spending our time dealing with other issues, we can spend our time with some of these validation, quality assurance kind of items. So yes, there will be some validation. I'm not going to say that we're going to validate 100%. We'll have to take a look at that and see what our capacity is. Starting to get a sense too of how our work is going to change from send us the document to we've already got the document. How do we open 100% of them? What are we checking and doing more quality assurance work? So do we ask for permanent residency proof now? Yes, we do. And I think, Stephanie, you had answered that yes, sometimes that actually happens at the school level, particularly for part-time as well. They do validation for us on our behalf right now, as well as data entry. So by us taking this over, we need to have a mechanism, but it is currently done. Please stop me if anybody wants to add extra comments. Love the color blocking. Yes, me too. I love the visual, right? That ability to see, hey, everything's good, it's green. Yellow, there's a problem. Red, stop. So hopefully it'll help students navigate what are the things, as well as here's the flow, here's where you're in it. So it'll be really interesting when we get a chance to go out to our student users and say, is this helping you? Do you understand where you are in the process? Do you understand what needs to be done next? And of course, we need to make sure, which goes to the next comment, that our warnings have the right information. And then I guarantee you right now, they probably don't have all the information we want in it. And also tells them what they need to do to resolve it, so we can make some updates and some improvements to that. No problem. When the students, okay, so then we had a couple of comments, and I'm not surprised, concern about the parent spouse piece. So this is what I believe the concern is. This is if we're simply asking students, does your parent or spouse have one of these? And the answer to that question then defines the next process. There's a concern, obviously, that students may take the easy path, or parents may take the easy path, which is, no, I don't have that, therefore all you need to do is estimate. And so we'll have to figure out how we manage that as a business. How do we verify that? How do we check in on that? We're going to need to monitor that too. I can tell you that this is how other jurisdictions manage parent and spouse information. So we're not completely out on our own here. So we can certainly reach out and find out what other jurisdictions have done to mitigate the potential risk of people that had a valid student card, services card, not wanting to bother with that process and therefore using it. So we'll have to find out. So we need to do some work on that. Anybody want to comment on that? My response to those questions about parent and spouse, or?
Hi, it's David here.
Yep.
CRA releases the information to us if we can confirm that we know who the party is that has collected their consent to allow us to have access to their information. And that's where I see, well, I hear that other provinces are able to do this. So there obviously is a route. I just found that a little hard to picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's a good point, David. I don't expect that we would be asking for CRA information for someone unless we have their approval to do that. We need to have their authority to do that. And we also need to know that they are who they say they are. So Jimmy can't give his parents approval to get the information. We need to get that approval from the parents, and we need to know they are who they say they are. So it's going to be interesting how we navigate through this.
It's reassuring that other provinces have found a path through that's acceptable to CRA, so I'm sure we will too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. We also, I don't want to minimize the fact that I think our privacy legislation is a bit more robust compared to other jurisdictions as well. So we'll have to work through and find a made in BC approach that's going to work for our legislation.
So Elise, we have 4 minutes left.
Yep.
And we have a few questions left, but I also wanted to remind the room that we'll be bringing these questions back to you at the business check-ins if we don't get to them all.
Yep. So I think let's bang through them then. So study period field. So right now, and good catch, it says Saturday, September 4th. Do we need the Saturday on there? Probably not. So we can make a note of that and decide whether or not we want to remove that. And again, that's where we want to ask our users. Taking that stuff out is not difficult, I don't think. Andrew kicked me under the table if I'm saying the wrong thing, but I don't think that would be difficult. So we can certainly flag that for consideration for sure. So then there's the concern about, which is a very valid concern. And again, we need to ask our users this, right? Can you see how to do your work? Can you see which ones are needing to be confirmed versus which ones need program information requests? So we feel like we may be at a place where we're ready to go and ask users now. We've got something to kick the tires with. So absolutely, we want to make it simple and easy for them. And so we're going to ask them to tell us when we do our user testing. Because yeah, maybe there's a better way. Can the institution user edit the program information at the COE stage at any time? Good question. So we have a edit information before COE, and there's a process there, and editing information after COE is a different process. So can an institution user edit the program information after COE? I think my immediate response to that is no. There would need to be a process in place for that. And that will absolutely involve staff. And we haven't started to work on that solution yet. Phil, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to provide a little bit of clarity. What I was meaning by that was because at the COE stage, when you go to confirm it, they can only confirm the enrollment like 26 days prior to the study period start date. But it seemed like the COE had populated in there for viewing prior to those 26 days. So when it's ready and it's all good, a confirmation of enrollment's there just waiting. So my question was, is as soon as an institution user goes in and it's there, even prior to the 26 days or after the 26 days, can an institution edit that program information? I get the whole different process once they've hit confirm on the COE, but it's prior to when they hit the confirm, right, if they're able to change that information at any time.
Yeah, and so this is one of the changes that we have very intentionally gone into, which is allowing institution users to see applications for their institution once that application has been assessed. They can't always see that now. And of course, for privates, this will be substantially new as well. And so if they are seeing that this student has applied for a program, they've been assessed, everything's all happy, except they have them in a totally different program at a totally different cost, totally different timelines, any of that, then yeah, that's where there's an opportunity for them to resolve that with the student and say, student, you might need to do a reassessment here because different dates or whatever. And that saves them having to decline the confirmation of enrollment when it becomes available and the student scrambling a little bit to try to get in front of that.
So they can do it as soon as they see it, they can try and resolve it as quickly as possible without having to wait any deadlines. Okay.
Absolutely. And in fact, we would encourage that. That would be, I would suggest, as best practice. It just depends, right? Institutions obviously have different staff, different priorities. They're going to manage their work in a way that works for them, but we want to give them the information as soon as possible. Awesome. I'm conscious of the time. We're normally scheduled till 11:30. Are folks okay with us trying to bang out these last couple of questions, or do we want to end now?
I also wanted to say that a new meeting series will be coming out with those other check-ins every other Wednesday, which we can
there'll be
commit to.
2 out of 3 Wednesdays now.
You'll have more time to chew on these questions, and we can bring these questions back.
Okay, so I'm going to keep going and answer the questions, and for those folks that have to drop off, no problem. We'll post the recording like we always do, and we can also talk more next week. I think there's about 3 more questions. So the next one is, study permits are issued on the basis of ability of the students to pay. So this is obviously for students, I'm guessing for students coming in. Why do they qualify for government assistance? Could someone maybe give me a little bit more for that question? I don't think I'm understanding the question.
Yeah, this is Irina, and I did write it. So because I was an international student myself, and you were talking about verifying study permits, right? And I recall that when you need to apply for study permits, you need to prove that you have enough of funds to actually cover education.
And that may be true, Irina. I think the difference here is that we only fund BC residents. So international students wouldn't be a group of people that we would be funding.
But what is study permit then?
What's a study permit?
I can answer that.
Okay.
Okay, study permits are also issued to refugees. So that's the group of people we're working with. It's not referring to international students.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Thank you for clarification. This is a good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Understood.
Privacy Act applies to data in control of CRA. So I think this is referring.
That's again me. Yes. I just wanted to clarify. It's not that FOIPA in BC is restrictive. It is Privacy Act, Federal Act, that is restrictive in terms of that financial information must be collected directly, so unless it's authorized to collect indirectly on behalf.
Right. So if other jurisdictions are able to work with CRA, there's a good sign then that we will be able to, because it's federal jurisdiction. So great. And then what does application status of complete mean? It's a good question, Mark. We have been talking about statuses. And so we've said, look, complete in our world means that we have assessed it and funds have been dispersed. It doesn't mean that the status, or pardon me, the study period is over, but we've kind of done our part on the front end, and because there may be, and maybe we need to shift this, but there may be changes of circumstances that are going to be reported before the end of the study period, and so the application can't go away from the institution user to report against until a later date, and we have yet to sort that piece out. And it'll need to be archived of some sort, but we put that as out of scope for MVP. So that's what it means for now. It means we've done our assessment and funds have been dispersed. If there's a change, then we're going to have to enter a new process, but that's what it means for now.
I just want to confirm that it doesn't mean that confirmation of enrollment. Sorry, this conversation is what happens in the system versus what the student is told. Confirmation of enrollment has been confirmed, therefore the status of the application is complete.
Yeah, so confirmation of enrollment happens before disbursement. So yes, the student has applied, the student has submitted their application. The application is complete in that any third-party information has been done. An assessment has been completed on it, resulting in a notice of assessment. The institution has confirmed enrollment, and so however many months or days or hours may have gone by between that assessment and the confirmation, and funds have been dispersed, and therefore the application is complete. Now, like I said, it doesn't mean that the institution user may not need to go back and say, yeah, it was complete, but then 27 days later they withdrew. So we still need to be able to manage that. But at that point we say, oh, that application is complete, and then a change happens. That's where we are today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. So I think those are all the questions for now. Did I miss? I don't think I missed anything, but I think it sounds like there's more discussion around parent and spouse for us as a business. And of course, David, did you have a question?
When a student's application contains all of the necessary elements that are required, is there any status indicator that it is in that state as opposed to in progress? Or does it just remain in progress until such time as we have taken everything, performed our assessment, and given them an NOA? And yeah, just a little confused about that.
Yeah, we kind of said that we've got the application is submitted and the student has submitted. There may be a whole bunch of applications that just move very quickly through to assessment because they don't need parent or spouse or program information. But for those that do, they're going to remain in progress a little longer. And then the assessment, which is going to be pretty much real time, right? That it'll move to assessment really quickly. So in progress is the time that may be 2 seconds that your application is in progress between it being submitted and it being assessed, or it might be 2 months while we're gathering that information from parent, spouse, school, all of that. That's what in progress means. And then we move very, very quickly in the system, as you can see, very quickly produces a notice of assessment. That's not going to take overnight. It's going to take a very, very short period of time once all the information is collected.
Yeah, the speed of assessment is certainly a good improvement. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
don't have a status right now of ready for assessment or anything like that because it happens so quickly. We thought, there's no point because it's only going to be in that status for such a short period of time that it didn't make sense to do that.
Thanks.
Yep. Okay. Anything else for now, or folks feeling pretty good for now?
Can I add one thing? That's Tatiana.
Yeah, please.
It's actually would be, I know it's a big ask and it's not, most likely won't make it, but after or before complete of disbursement would be add it as a status just to make it more clear to the applicant to where things are, so that that complete doesn't confuse the student, because it doesn't really say what's complete.
So you're suggesting adding a status which
disbursement,
is
yeah. So maybe like
so
everything's complete.
Can see my enrollment's confirmed and my funds have been dispersed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
okay.
it could, I think it will be in another section somewhere, but like if it's all together in one line, then it's like it's a clear path of the whole process, not just the application process, but the whole.
Okay. No, we can certainly consider that. I can't guarantee it, but we need to think about, and that's again where we want to ask the users. We'll also need to think about, because we can't say the moment that it's dispersed. We can say, hey, we've sent the disbursement file to national, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's been dispersed. So we'll have to sort that out. And how do we communicate that to students? But I think that's a good idea. So let's consider that.
Okay, thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you at, some of us will see you at Business Check-In, and otherwise we'll see you in 3 weeks.
Yeah, so expect a flurry of email invites, and please accept them all.
Yeah, welcome to September. Yeah, okay, bye-bye.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.